Okay, so let's have a look at what we have covered before, right? Um, so previously we talked about communication, scientific communication, and also the fundamentals of research. And then we talk about what makes a good scientific investigation. Okay? The reason why we are concerned about science before we talk about communication is because we need to make sure that our science is legit, is something that is valid, yeah? Before we communicate it. Because once we communicate it, we must already like have a sound science, something that has been verified. It's not something that is not something that ambiguous. Yeah? You as a listener, you do not want to listen to scientific reports that are not confirmed, right? I mean, of course, we do not want something that is not safe for us. Huh? If it is something related to medicine, right? So we must make sure that those medicines are um, that have verified, that have gone through many steps, validation. So the same thing goes to the scientific investigation. If you are the experimenter or the doer, you have to make sure that the science in the first place is correct, is valid before you talk about communicating it. Okay, so that's why we talk about what are the steps in modern scientific investigation. Then we talk about thesis research project. Okay, so thesis research project is a research project uh, that is meant to submit a thesis at the end. For example, FYP, master research, and also PhD research. Okay, so that is in LU2. And then today we are going into LU3, which is scientific writing and research proposal. So writing is one of the forms of communication. Remember this course is about scientific communication. So we will learn how to write a good scientific documents, scientific reports, right? And also later we focus on the research proposal because for FYP1 you have to prepare a research proposal. So this would be beneficial for next semester for your FYP proposal. So first, let's have a look at scientific writing. Okay, I believe this is an adage or a saying: the pen is mightier than the sword. What does it mean? Why people invented or why people come up with this phrase, this adage? We call it adage. This saying: the pen is mightier than the sword. Is it true? Do you agree? SWOT, do you know SWOT is? SWOT is like pedang, something like that. The pen is mightier than the sword. It means how powerful the pen. And the pen refers to the writing, isn't it? When we say the pen, of course, we talk about we relate it with writing, with words. Agree? Okay, thanks. So the reason is because when you write, when you read something, sometimes some of the words that you read, if it is powerful, what is the effect on the readers is that it can change your perception, it can change your mentality, you know, it can change your opinion, yeah. So, and it's not just about one person. It talks about, I mean, if let's say it reached many readers, it will change the perception of the whole generation, for example, or the whole country, the nation. Okay, what happens is that it will trigger the people to act, for example, it's something to do with persuading something. No, there will be a call. There will be a call to kind of like give awareness for people. So that is actually the implication is very huge. So that's why it says that the pen is mightier than the sword, because when, you know, people's voice is very powerful, right? When you see the reaction or the action taken, or how the perception of the whole generation change, it will change many things. So it's very powerful. But provided that your writing, the writing must be powerful, must be good, must be meaningful, right? So it means that it's something to do with the writing, the skill of writing. Yeah? So in this module, or in this lecture, we are going to see what makes a good writing, and more importantly, we relate it to the scientific writing, because we are scientists and we want to know how to write effectively. Okay, how to write effectively. So as I said before, we are scientists, but we cannot ignore the importance of communication. And one of the components of communication is language. So that's why we have to take care about our writing. Yeah. So in this course, you are not just about expressing the science, but also I'm as the the facilitator, I have to also correct your language. Okay, so that is the thing, and also you also have to improve your language, right? Because we are talking about communication, we are talking about writing, so we cannot ignore all these grammars or the rules of the language, anything related to English, because we are using English. Okay, so that's going to be our today's lecture, scientific writing. Okay, let's have a look at the module. Okay. So this is module 5, yeah, scientific writing. Yeah, science is worthwhile only when it is shared. Okay, that is another phrase. Why it is said so? Because if you don't share or you keep it to yourself, it means nothing and it's a waste, right? Same goes to if, let's say, people study about vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, and they keep it to themselves. They don't come up with the products, they don't come up with the vaccine, they don't spread it to the world. It's going to be meaningless, right? So we have to share the science, and in order to share the science, we have to know how to share the science and how to communicate effectively. So that's why you have to study this course. Yeah. Right, and one of the communication is writing. Right, so in this module, we're going to have a look at what are the forms of scientific writing. First, we have a look at the introduction, and then after the forms of scientific writing, the principles of scientific writing, characteristics of good writing, and excellence in writing scientific papers, okay, or articles. Papers and articles are the same. Sometimes people say articles, sometimes people say papers, but they are the same. Yeah? In research, we always term papers and articles interchangeably. Okay, so introduction. Hey, do you guys can see the screen? Can, right?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, thanks. Writing is an important activity for scientists and students. Okay, we cannot run from writing. Even if you are not yet to write articles, you have been writing for many things, right? For example, the assignment, the reports, whatsoever. Yeah? It's something that is very common. Yeah, it's very common. And for scientists, it's important, of course, because we have to document our results. We have to record our methods and so on. Right? And we have to put it in a proper way, because we know that research is a systematic process. Means that it has to have documents, proper organization of the data and so on. So for that, we need to write. Yeah? It is an important form of scientific communication, as I said. Yeah, how we communicate by writing is by publishing the research outputs, the research results, findings. And why we publish it is because we want to communicate, we want to tell the world about this finding, these results, this output, the product, whatsoever. Okay, that is our one of the important objective, to communicate, and not just to communicate. It's going to be a knowledge for them if they, when they read it, and also to benefit, and for them to benefit from our works, from our results. For example, the nearest or the clearest example is COVID-19 vaccine. That's one of the most significant benefit of research in vaccines. Some lecturers write books based on their experience. Okay, so the types of the outputs, it can be various. It can be books, it can be articles, and articles, there are so many types of articles. It can be articles in the magazine, articles in journals, something related to certain fields, like biotech, articles in newspaper, articles in website, can be many forms. And also apart from that, there are also books, newsletter, right? And for the students write laboratory reports, your practical. Why you need to write it? Because you want to make it proper. Yeah? If you don't write the whole thing, it will be scattered and it will not be, there is no proper reference for you later. So that's why you need to write laboratory reports. You have to have logbooks for FYP later. Logbooks are necessary. Logbooks is like in your school. When you were in school, you have the logbooks, right? For you to write the reports for every experiment. So the same thing goes to when you do the research in the university, you have to have the logbooks. So you have to write things in your logbooks every day. Yeah? What you have done today, what you have read, what you have maybe discussed with your supervisor. So you have to record it in the logbooks. So that is the way how you can later refer to it when you want to write your FYP reports at the end. Logbooks would be your primary reference, because those are the things that records your work. Yeah? And apart from lab reports, project proposal. Okay, for example, FYP, you have to write proposal next semester. Term papers, project papers, that one is for the independent researchers, and also thesis. We talked about thesis last week, right? The thesis is the final report for any research, FYP research, those research that are related to thesis, FYP, master, and PhD. Right. There are three types of scientific writing. So the writing documents can be classified into three categories: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay. So what is meant by primary scientific writing is something like when you do experiments and you write it directly in your logbooks. So that is that way, that form of writing is primary writing. You write it directly, and whatever, let's say the logbooks or the reports, it comes directly from your work. Okay, so that is primary. So secondary writing is when, for example, other people do works and they write articles, right? And then let's say we want to make a review. When we say review, it's like we review, we make comparison, compare and contrast. So we want to compare like article 1, let's say we focus on certain topics, maybe application of banana waste um, for producing sugar, something like that. Okay, that is our topic. And then we want to find what are the works that have been done by previous researchers. So we have to read many articles related to that topic. So let's say we have read about 30 articles, 30 articles. So we want to compare and contrast all the articles. And the articles themselves, they are actually primary writing because they report whatsoever the things from their work. But when you are reviewing other people's work, right, you are reviewing different articles, for example, in order later for you to write what we call review paper. So the review paper that is resulted from the review of other articles, that is called a secondary writing. Yeah, because you are based on others' work. You are, you are writing something based on others' work. So that's the paper that you are producing, which is called review paper. That is an example of secondary writing. Okay. So by definition, it's a writing and review on a topic using data and information from previously published original scientific papers. Okay, later I'll show you an example of a review paper. Okay, tertiary. Tertiary is referring to those articles that are written for a more general audience, such as books, monographs, and semi-scientific magazines. Okay, so for the primary and secondary, it is normally specific to fields. For example, if let's say we talk about fermentation field, so the articles, most of the articles and also the research articles and review articles, they are specific to that, whatever the field. And the way we write those articles, we can use like terms because we expect that the audience who read those articles are researchers from that particular field as well. But if let's say we want to write, we want to convey the message to general public, to those people that maybe do not study science or not specializing in biotechnology, for example, right? They are just from, like from just general public, who do not have backgrounds like us in that field. So the way how, let's say, certain articles are written or books are written, they must be written in a way that can be understood easily by non-specialists, by non-expert in those fields. Okay, so to a more general audience. So that kind of writings or books, that is called tertiary writing. Tertiary writing, because they are kind of like, not to say manipulated, but they are transformed into a form that can be understood much easier by not using so many scientific terms, for example. Okay, so that kind of writing is called tertiary writing. Okay, so there are 3 types of scientific writing: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay, now let's have a look at, I mentioned about research articles and review articles just now, right? Okay, so examples of research articles are the article that you read last week about the leg cases. Yeah? So let me have a look at that. Okay, so when we talk about when we talk about articles in academia, articles published by journals, okay, which are the one that you are going to read a lot for your research later, it can be divided into 2 types. 2 types, namely research article and review articles. Okay, so what is the difference between the two? Research articles are those that are written based on the works that have been done. For example, in this case, this is the article that you read last week, right? So this article is written by my master student, so Farah. So she has done the work. Okay, this is the work. Okay, if you can see the results and everything. So this is the works that she has done for the past 2 years. Okay, so she reported in this article, right? You can see the results, the methods. So it's based on her work. So this kind of article is called research article or research paper. It's the same. Yeah. So this is example of research article or research paper, which is an article written based on the research done by that particular team of researchers. Okay, if I say team of researchers because there are many authors here. So these are the authors. So the first author and the rest are co-authors. But it is a team of researchers who work on this project. Okay, so this is called research article or research paper. So why and how you know it? You can see the structure of the paper. You can see the most important part is this paper would have materials and methods and also results and discussion. That shows that the paper is reporting about their works. Okay. Right. Another example, another type of paper is review paper. Okay, I mentioned just now, review paper is an example of secondary writing. Okay, what is the difference between review paper and research paper? Okay, so normally for review paper, if you see the article, sometimes it is written on top of this review, but sometimes it is not mentioned. But how you want to know is from the structure of the paper. Okay, it still have abstract, it still have introduction, but you will not see materials and methods. If you see the structure, means the subtopics of the paper. You can see that number one just now is introduction, and here is just another topic. So this is a subtopic. Yeah. So you can't see any materials and methods section. What I mean by material and method section, there is no material and method section. About the results, there is also no section of saying results and discussion. But what the results reported here are based on the reviews, based on the comparison of all the articles that the authors have read. Okay, so they try to discuss it here. So that's why they put it all the results here. But this is not actually from this person. This is this is the name of the authors. So the results reported here are not actually produced by this team of researchers. So these authors, they are just comparing and contrasting. Okay, they are just like reviewing, we call it, different articles. So that's why this paper or this article is called review paper. Okay, review paper. And you can see that, yeah, the structure is, you can see that two main sections of materials and methods and results and discussion, but it still has a conclusion and introduction, okay, section. Okay, so that is not going to be the base of the comparison of the two types of articles. Okay, and if you can see the references is quite a lot because they are reviewing a lot of articles in order to come up with a summary. Yeah, so that is the difference between review and research articles. Okay, so far any question, guys? Are you clear now about clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Right, thank you. Okay, so that is the comparison between research article and review articles. Okay, so I've covered this. Okay, what are the forms of scientific writing? Okay, when we say scientific writing, is writing related to the science. And it's not just about articles or journal papers. There are many actually. It can be your logbooks. It can be technical reports. Yeah, it can be those articles in the magazines, articles in journals. Journals are those that are more to academic academic foundation. Thesis is also a kind of scientific writing. Research report. Okay, let's say you have to report your progress. For example, for your FYP, you have to report your progress at the end of semester 1. So that is also an example of scientific writing, even though that report is not yet a thesis, but it is a scientific writing. Okay, so there are many types of scientific writing. So primary, scientific journal papers, technical reports, research report, review papers, books related to science, articles in magazine, thesis, term papers, or even lab reports is also a kind of scientific writing. So each type of scientific writing has different structure and format, style, and also audience. Yeah. So structure and formats, the format now, what are the things that need to be incorporated into the writing? For example, research proposal has different formats compared to research paper or thesis, yeah, because the purpose is different. For the proposal, the purpose is to present, to propose a research that is not being done yet. So the components must be, you must not have the results yet for the proposal, yeah. So it is different from if, let's say, you are reporting your final results, right? Everything in a thesis, the thesis already have the results because you have done the work, right? So the structure is different. And then in terms of the format is something to do with the way how, the format, the format, right? So for example, the format for the paper is different. I mean, even like between one article to another article, there is a slight difference in terms of the format. Like for example, the font, maybe the what else? The way how the references are cited. Okay, that is something to do with the format. Yeah, so for the proposal, the format is different, the article is different, the progress report is different. So it's based on also the purpose of the documents, right? The style. What is the style? The style is it's something related to the language as well, how you write certain sections. For example, yes, like for example, scientific writings is more straightforward compared to non-scientific writing. For example, people who are studying like maybe English literature, the way how the style, the way the sentences are constructed may be different because of the nature of the field is different. That is something to do with the style. And then audience. So every form of the scientific writing, it has different audience. For example, journal papers have different audience. Audience may be those that are specialized in the field, those that are already established in the field. But if you talk about the audience of an article in a magazine, the audience might be different. Those who read the articles might be different. Maybe they are amongst the general public, the school children, maybe those who are not in science. I mean, the background could be different. But if you're talking about, let's say, research proposals, so the audience will be the examiners or the lecturers who have background in the field. So you don't have to worry about using certain, you don't have to mind about using scientific terms, because you know that your audience will understand what you mean by, for example, recombinant microorganisms. Like I would understand what it means. So the way how you tackle the audience is important, because that would determine their understanding. If you write the same way how you write the scientific articles to to the general public, they might not understand what you mean by recombinant microorganisms, because they are not in your field. Okay, so the audience play an important role. Yeah, so you have to know the audience, because that will determine how you write your stuff, your document. Okay. The principles of scientific writing. Okay. What are the importance or the basics, the foundation? So there are 7 pillars: writing characteristics, writing style, writing format, delivery of information, accuracy of data, objective and specificity, originality and honesty. Okay, so these are the things that becomes the foundation of scientific writing. Okay, so let's have a look at writing characteristics. So what is meant by writing characteristics? It's something to do with when we talk about scientific writing, of course, we will use a lot of scientific terms. Okay, so before you use certain terms, certain scientific terms, it's very important for you to understand what it means in order to avoid confusion. Okay, because if you don't understand the terms well and you use it wrongly, it will give wrong understanding to the people. Okay, so for example, what is wild type organisms? So before you use that wild type organism, you should know what it means. So one of the important characteristics writing is the use of the right terms, terminologies. Terminologies are words. Okay, for example, what are examples of biotech terminologies? Can you give me examples? What you have learned throughout your 2 years, or 2 years, 2 years in biotech? Can I have some examples of words, terminologies? Are you with me? What are examples of biotech terminologies? Give me 1 or 2 or 3. Okay, guys? Are you with me?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
Yeah, what are examples? Do you know what terminologies are?
Hi, doctor.
Yeah, so what are examples? What are biotech terms that you have came across?
Hybrid.
Okay, hybrid. Mm-hmm. What's more?
Cloning,
Cloning, yes. What else? What else? What do you have learned in plant biotech? What do you have learned in microbiology? Animal biotech?
Pathogen.
Say again?
Pathogen.
Pathogen.
Yeah.
Okay.
inoculation,
Inoculation. Okay. That's examples of terms in that in biotech. Okay. What's more? What's more? Tak kena je. What do you have studied in? Huh?
Anaerobic.
Yes, correct. Anaerobic, aerobic. Okay. So these terms are highly scientific. You can't expect your your grandma to know about, I mean, unless your grandma is a scientist also, but you cannot expect like general public to, when you say aerobic, you can't expect them easily that they understand what is aerobic, what is cloning. Huh? Okay, so that's why it's very important for you to differentiate. These terms are related to your field. It's not common. You know it because you are in the field, but you cannot expect other people to know them. Okay, but before you use it, you have to know what it means. So sometimes you might have come across in the courses before, but you need to revise again and again. Sometimes your understanding at that time is different. Maybe when you study about other things, your understanding is much better, or maybe the definition, your definition about it is improved. So you have to revise and revise. Like inoculation. What is inoculation? What is inoculation? Before you use the word inoculation, you have to know what it means. You cannot just simply say that inoculation will be carried out, but you do not know what it means. Okay, so in short, you have to know what all the terms mean, because that will contribute to a good writing. Okay, so imagine if I use the words incorrectly. For example, I want to say aerobic, but I say anaerobic. So it will create so much confusion, right? And also misunderstanding about the knowledge and wrong conception. Okay, so the impact is huge actually. So one of the important characteristics is the use of right terminologies, the right terminologies. Okay, so you have to understand. So that's important to make scientific writings comprehensible. Comprehensible means understandable, in order for you to convey the information effectively. Okay? At the end, we want the information to be communicated effectively, to be delivered correctly. Okay, so that is the purpose, the aim of scientific communication. Okay, thank you for your contribution of the words. Okay, the second principle is the style. So in scientific writing, we have to know the style, but normally the style is not really something that complicated. It's the basic style is, it should be clear. It should be straightforward. You cannot say something that is too flowerish. We are not trained to write in that way. We are not from literature field or English literature or the poetic things. We are not trained to write that kind of things. So for scientific writing, the style is straightforward, is clear, simple, as long as the message is, can be understood. Okay. So the style, how to say that, is formal, right? Is not something poetic. So like there are different styles. Like if you are maybe you are studying English or you are studying something related to the language, the style is different. Something like more poetic, for example. But there's no such thing of poetic in science, right? So the style refers to the way of expressing the mind, the goals to be achieved, the situation to be created, and background use. Okay, so that is style, right? So in terms of the scientific style, of course, from one person to another, there is a difference in terms of the style, because the way how the person think and construct the sentences is different. For example, if when I give you guys exercise last week, right, to paraphrase, to rephrase the sentences that I gave, the two sentences that I gave. So there will be no overlap. I'm sure that there will be no overlap of your sentences from one person to another, because the way how you construct the sentences is different. The way how you look the points is different. Okay? That is something to do with the style as well. Okay, so if let's say you are not doing it, if you are not in discussion with your friends, if let's say you construct the sentences by yourself, you know, it will be actually different from your friend's sentence. Yeah, so because the style is different. Okay, it takes some experience and time to achieve this, and especially to create your own style. Okay, okay, that is style. Writing formats is something to do with the use of words, format, level of clarity. Okay, so different, as I said just now, different form of writing, it has its own format. Yeah? For the thesis is different. For the FYP thesis is different from FYP proposal. Yeah? In FYP proposal, we have in FYP proposal, you don't have the results yet, so you don't have any result section, but you have what we call expected outcomes. It means that it's a section where you describe what you expect to achieve from the project. But in the research, in the FYP thesis, you don't have expected outcomes anymore because you have done the work. So you must have results and discussion whereby you discuss the results. Okay, so that the format is different. And same goes to review article. The format is different. Research paper, the format is different. Okay, it depends on the types of the documents. The author must have a method of approach to get the target audience to read his or her writing. Okay. The types of media used. Okay, as I said, yeah. So each of these has its own format. Okay. And then the fourth point, delivery of information. Yeah, this is something to do with how you deliver the information. The basic of yeah, something to do with how you convey or how you deliver the information, the channel, perhaps, yeah, the platform, and the way how the information is delivered. Yeah. So I think that's you can read by yourself. And then accuracy of the data. Okay, this one is important. So we have talked about doing a good scientific research. Okay, so we have to make sure that our data are valid, our results are precise. We have different concepts of research, like validity, precision, right? Precise. It must be accurate. Not to say accurate. Yeah, accurate. There is a concept of accuracy. And then what else? Replication, right? Those kind of things will contribute to the accuracy of the data. Of course, there is no data that is entirely accurate, but what we can do is to increase the accuracy, to increase the reliability of the data. Yeah, so because it's very important to communicate good data, not something that is vague or weak data. Yeah? And as a reader, as a receiver, you also want to get good information, not something that is bad information or something that is not verified yet. Yeah, so it will create doubts to the public or to the audience. So accuracy of the data is an important element of scientific writing. Yeah, it's something to do with the correct measurement. Yeah, so means that what contributes to a good measurement, it must be precise. Precise means it is something that is very close. Remember when we talk about precision. So if let's say this is your target, okay, maybe your points are here. So this is what we call precise. So precise means it is consistent, okay? So if let's say in terms of the data, let's say you test, you have triplicates experiment, yeah? and want to check maybe the effects of temperature on bioethanol production. Let's say the temperature is 50 degrees Celsius and the bioethanol production is expressed in concentration. So for replicate 1, you get, let's say, the bioethanol as 29 gram per liter. Replicate 2, you got 28 gram per liter. And replicate 3, you got maybe 30 gram per liter. So you can see it is very close to each other, 29, 28, 30. It's just plus minus 1 and 2. So it's quite precise. Okay, so if you want to express this thing in terms of the points, it will very close. It will very close. Compared to if, let's say, you have results like R1, R2, R3. Let's say one is 29 gram per liter. The other one is maybe 5 gram per liter. And another one is maybe 60 gram per liter. So this is not precise. This is highly not precise. Okay. So in doing research, we must make sure the precision, the consistency of the results. If you have 3 replicates, it must be very close so that you can say that you are confident that, for example, here, the first case, it is between 28 to 30. I mean, it's very, very close. Compared to here, if you see 5 to 60, that is too huge, the difference. So that will affect the accuracy of the data at the end. Okay? So precision is one of the important criteria that will determine the accuracy of the data. Okay, that's why we talk about it in previous topics, right? When we talk about the measurement of scientific investigation. Right? Okay, so correct measurement is very important because it will affect the accuracy of the data. And of course, you are talking about data results. Right? So you want to make sure that the communication is something that is, your communication is valid or is reliable. Okay. Yeah, so that's accuracy of the data. And then objective and specific. So when we talk about scientific writing, it must be based on objectives. For example, the paper that you read, it states the objective of the paper, right? For example, if I want to share it again. Okay, so let's have a look at the paper that you read. Okay, so there is the paper has an objective. Of course, every paper would have an objective. It cannot focus on everything. What is the importance of objective is it let the words focuses on certain aspects only. Yeah? For example, how you know the objective or the aim, you can see from the intro section, the last paragraph. Yeah? The main aim of this study was to evaluate the feasibility of sago bioethanol licorice as a fermentation feedstock for production of lacases by P-Pasteurize. Okay, so focuses on this SBLW liquid waste. It doesn't focus on banana waste, or it doesn't focus on sago waste or other parts of waste, but it just focuses on this sago bioethanol liquid waste. So that's the target, the objective. Production of lacases. So this work focuses on the use of this waste for producing lacases. Lacases we know are enzymes, right? We're not focusing on other enzymes. That is the target, lacases. We're not focusing on amylases, we're not focusing on cellulase. What else? Other enzymes, it's just on lacases. And if we talk about the organism, there are many organisms, but here this work focuses on only P-Pasteurize. P-Pasteurize is a type of yeast. Yeah? So it doesn't focus, this work doesn't focus on works by E. coli, by Saccharomyces cerevisiae, by Bacillus, but P-Pasteurize. Okay? So that is the focus, that is the objective, so that the work can be, it can be just oriented around that particular area. So that is the importance of the objective. Okay, so it must be based on objectives. Okay, and specific. So when you set the objectives, you are the work will go into specific, as I said just now, focuses on that type of particular ways for producing lead cases produced by Picha pastorists. So that is the target, right? So the work is now is becoming specific. So the objective will let the words to be specific. You know what specific is, right? So it's not, it's just on certain things. It's not on many things. Okay. So scientific writing should be objective, should be specific. Okay. All views must be based on data measurement and never personal assumption. Subjective feelings are not allowed in scientific writings. Okay. Something that whatever the points that you mentioned, it should be based on scientific base. Something like you cannot say that the lead cases production is increased because of, you know, your personal opinion says that because of the room is too hot. So that is something that is not accepted for scientific writing. It must be based on what? Because of the temperature of, let's say, temperature of 30 is conducive for the growth of pea pastorists. Pea pastorists love to grow at 30 degrees. And this is supported by other works that also reported the same range of temperature. So you have to also refer to other works. Okay, that will be the evidence why what you say is like that. Okay, so that is meant by justification. It cannot be just because of your personal opinion. Okay, that is meant by this the last segment over here. And then originality and honesty. Okay, the scientific writing must be first, before you communicate it, it must be original. It must be based on an honest work. Okay, you cannot cheat. You cannot cheat. You cannot fake the results. You cannot report whatever the things that you actually do not achieve in the lab. That's something to do with the originality and honesty. So that is in terms of the work. And when you write it, also you have to adhere, you have to follow certain rules related to the academic writing. So in academic writing, we cannot just copy and paste other sentences. Yeah? That's why you have to rephrase. You have to rephrase. You know what rephrase is? There's the word called rephrase. Right? Or paraphrase. So it's actually from the word phrase. Phrase is whatever the sentence. When we say rephrase, you have to do it again. Produce using your own style. So that's why your style should be different from others, because it will give the uniqueness of your writing. Okay? So rephrasing is a very important concept in academic writing, because without rephrasing, you will just copy and paste other words. You cannot do that. You have to rephrase. Right? And apart from rephrasing, also you have to cite. When I say cite, is citation, cite. You have to cite means you have to put the references of that particular fact. Okay. For example, when you practice in the homework that I gave you, according to, let's say, according to lie at all, right? Then you put the reference 2015, something like that. So this is an example of citation. This is citing. You are citing. Right? An example of citation, or we call it in-text citation because it is in the text. Okay, so citation is a very important aspect as well in academic writing, because it will prevent you from what we call plagiarizing. You know plagiarizing? You have to jot down these kind of terms and understand what it means. Plagiarize. Plagiarize is the root word. Plagiarism is an act of plagiarizing. Okay, plagiarism is a noun. So in order to good in writing, you also have to polish your English, learn new words day by day. Okay, if you do not know what plagiarize before, you have to know by right. Okay, what is plagiarize? Or in Malay, we call it plagiate, plagiate. Plagiarize. Plagiarism is the act of plagiarizing. Okay, so how to avoid yourself from plagiarizing? You have to rephrase. So rephrase and cite. Both of these must be practiced. You have to cite. You cannot just rephrase without citing. Although you have changed the words, but you don't put the reference, that is also called plagiarizing. If let's say you cite, but you don't rephrase, maybe you just copy and paste, you put the name of the authors, but you don't rephrase, that is also called plagiarizing. Okay, so there are two types of way how plagiarism can happen. And sometimes you might not realize it. You don't have any intention. Sometimes you don't have any intention to plagiarize, but because of you forgot to put the citation, you are caught as plagiarizing. So you have to be careful with these two things, because that is very important in academic writing. Okay, Turnitin, Turnitin is software that detects plagiarism, based on the similarity of the writing. So it will count the similarity percentage. So at the end of the report, when you write it, you will get the similarity result. Okay, so that is the thing that we need to minimize. Okay, I'll talk about it later, but let's have a look at the points here. Never fabricate or plagiarize your data. Okay, I've mentioned about it. Data are produced from your own experiments without manipulating the outcomes. So this one must be, it reflects your honesty. Okay, so you don't have in research, it's not necessarily to have good results all the time. Sometimes bad results are also insightful. Something it gives like something to think after, something to think next, So it's not just for example, FYP, the way how FYP is assessed is not based on good results entirely. So there are many aspects of marking, but the way how you conduct it, the way how you discuss it, so although your results might not be so sweet, so you don't have to worry about because in order to get good results, sometimes it takes time. Maybe 3 to 4 months might be not enough. But if you are lucky, if you work hard, maybe you can get. But you don't have to worry that at the end of FYP, you should get very groundbreaking results. Even I also do not get good results that really, groundbreaking results after 2 years. It takes time, actually. In short, it takes time. So you don't have to feel worried if you don't have, that's my point lah. So the most important thing is you must be honest. You must report what you get, not what you don't get. Okay. So this is something to do with honesty, the data. So actually the development of your honesty is actually more important than whatever the results that perhaps might be manipulated. So because if you are honest, you bring your honesty everywhere. You work anywhere, you are honest. If you're honest, your employer can rely on you. So if you are not honest, even though you get good results, maybe you fake it and you are not detected by people, but that inhonesty is very dangerous. So we do not want inhonest scientists. What happened? You can see the impact is very huge, because you are going to tell the people what's your results, what's your output is. If you are reporting something that is not true, that will give a very bad implication. For example, if you see the medicine, if the medicine is not based on an honest work research, the impact is very severe to the public. Okay, so the bottom line is you please be honest, and you don't have to worry about Leela, about getting sweet results all the time. So bad results are also sometimes, it is actually the stepping stone for us to improve from there. If let's say in your FYP, you say that this is what you got, even though it's not that really what you hoped for, but if let's say you discuss it nicely, okay, maybe because of the possible reasons could be this and this, and you suggest ways how to improve it in the future. So if let's say you put it in a very good kind of discussion, that could determine good marks for your FYP. Yeah? So FYP is not just based on cherry pick results, we call it, yeah? Good results, cherry pick results, or something that is just nice, everything nice. Huh? Okay. Random samplings are always done to avoid biasness. Timing and duration for sampling are critical. Okay, random samplings means that if when we do the research, did I talk about this random samplings previously? Or maybe you have studied about randomness in statistics. Okay, so whenever we do samplings or we do experiments or research, we must minimize the biasness. The biasness means because the biasness will lead to inaccurate results. For example, if you want to sample water samples, if you want to, let's say you want to analyze the bacteria in water taken from lakes or maybe rivers. If let's say your focus is in Unimas lakes, right? Unimas lakes. So let's say Unimas has 5 lakes. So you cannot just focus on, you cannot just sample the water from just one lake and later you say that it represents Unimas. That is bias, right? That is not fair. So you have to study the background of things that you want to study. For example, Unimas has 5 lakes, and then you have to make sure that the sampling must be from all the 5 lakes, right? In order to avoid biasness, so that you are fair, saying that it is taken from the whole Unimas lakes. And when we talk about one lakes, yeah, you should not just focus on one site. You must have different sites in the lakes in order to avoid biasness as well. Okay, so that is something to do with the biasness, bias. Okay, so why it is important? Because you want to have results that at the end that are representative or that represent the whole population of things that you want to discuss. Okay, you cannot say that when you collect just from one side and you claim the whole thing. So that is bias. Okay, data from other researchers must not be used and written as your own. I think I've mentioned about it. So that's why you need to cite. This is citing, something to do with need to cite. Okay, let's have a look at an example of a Turnitin originality report. Okay, I'm sure that this is not something new for you. You know about this already, how to use Turnitin and what it means, the report. Okay, this is an example of a very bad similarity because the similarity is very high. It's 90%. This is totally high. 90% similarity means that almost 90% of your works is actually copy and paste because it is similar. Yeah? Only 10% is not similar, which is very bad. Yeah? So the rule of thumb for this one is the lower the better. The lower the similarity, the better. So the cutoff for FYP is 20%. Okay, 20%. So you cannot exceed 20% for your FYP proposal and also for your FYP thesis. So you have to make sure it is less. But not to say that if it is 20%, you want to achieve 18, 19% or 20. So the lower the better. If let's say you got below 10%, that is better, because it means that you construct everything by your own, the sentences, you rephrase by your own. You are not copying the words, words by words. Okay. So for example, if you see this report, you can see that how the software highlights the sentences that are similar. For example, if you see the sentences over here, it is totally similar. So that's why everything is highlighted. So it means that it is copy paste. This is 100% copy and paste. So which is really, really bad. And this is not something that you have to do. So this is how to avoid this kind of things from being highlighted is rephrasing. That's why you need to practice. Okay. So, and also the software will tell you where this comes from. For example, this one is the brown one, maybe it's here or here. So the pink one comes from here. So it will tell the sources. So we can easily go to the sources and see how you're copying and pasting the things. Okay. So the lower the better. So make sure that so how to achieve less than 10% is you construct the sentences by yourself. If let's say you construct the sentences by yourself, you have different style. That's why the style is important. So the way how you put the words might be different from the sources. So that will prevent the software from detecting the similarity words by words. Okay. Sometimes some of the terms are not, it is understood that some of the terms can't be replaced, especially the scientific terms. For example, recombinant microorganisms. You can also say genetically modified, but it's quite limited, right? Maybe in some instances, you just have to use that word. You don't have any replacement for that. That's fine. But as long as other sentences or other words in that sentences, you rephrase it, you change the way how it is written. Okay, so in that way, the software will not detect it, even though that particular terminology is the same. But it will detect if, let's say, it is exists in adjacent, like for example, like words by words are similar. So that's the way how the software will detect it similar. Okay. Okay, so that's the Turnitin report. The characteristics of good writing. Okay, let's have a look what makes a good writing. This is something to do with language. So I think it's not something new to you. You have studied in English what makes a good writing, a good essay. Have written essays before in SPN, in STP, in your MOET, in your English courses. So you should know what makes a good writing. So what are those characteristics? A good writing is one that contains clear message, properly organized, and presents adequate, accurate, and relevant facts about whatever is being specified in the title. Okay, relevant facts. That's why we discussed about scientific research, what makes a good scientific research, because we want to report relevant scientific information. Right, so what makes a good writing? It must be clear and readable. What is clear? Is easily understood by the audience, right? So how to make the sentences or the writings clear? You just have to construct the sentences in a way that is not complicated. Make it like 1 point per sentence. If you want to say about 1 point, make it in only 1 sentence. You don't have to combine it too long, So it will make confusion. It will create confusion. So one of the important tips for a clear sentence is to construct a simple sentence. How to construct a simple sentence? By just focusing 1 point in 1 sentence. Don't combine too many points and make it long. So long sentences are not favorable because it will create lots of confusion. Okay. So clarity, and then coherent. What is coherent? This is a very important concept. Coherent. Anyone knows what coherent is? Coherent. Anyone knows what coherent is? What is coherent?
Logical argument.
Logical argument. Okay, what do you mean by logical argument?
I mean like we give an argument that actually is based on something, not just by assumption. Bukan macam ikut pendapat kita je.
That is something to do with the relevant. Coherent is something else. Yeah, it must be coherent. Yeah, I agree with you. It should be based on good foundations. Okay, but yeah, but it doesn't really describe coherence. What is coherence? Coherent. Okay, thank you for your answer just now.
Well organized or systematic.
Yeah, there is a part of it that makes coherent, organization and systematic. But what is I want to have a more much closer definition of coherent. Okay, thank you. That's part of it. Yeah, that will contribute to coherent. So just now also the relevant information also contribute to the coherent. But what is actually the most important definition of coherent? Thank you for the answers. Any other opinion about what coherent is? Coherent. Coherency is the noun. Coherent is what is coherent?
Easy to understand.
Okay, that will contribute to good understanding or easy understanding. Tapi dia tak lagi describe what is coherent. Any more? Have you come across the word coherent before? You have to, you have to learn today that that's a new word for you. Tak ada. Okay, coherent means the points from one point to another, it must be related. It must be in Malay is what else? Ada kesinambungan. Yes, that's ada kesinambungan. You know kesinambungan? Kesinambungan, ada continuity.
Yes.
Okay, so when let's say I talk about contohnya, okay, let's say I cari example. So if I talk about something, I don't jump to another point after that. I still talk about it. I put it like in an organized way. Someone mentioned about organization just now. So that's why it's contribute to the coherency, but it's something to do with the proper flow of the points, the continuity, continuity, kesinambungan, from one point to another, from one sentence to another. Okay, so that makes a good writing, a good scientific writing. Okay, let's have a look at example of what is meant by coherency. Okay, so for example here, can you see this article?
Yes.
Okay, so the first sentence, exploitation of agricultural waste as alternative feedstocks for bioethanol production has gained increasing interest among biorefineries. Okay, so the words or the points over here is something related with the agricultural waste, right? So the next sentence still talk about it, still talk about agricultural waste. One of the potential agricultural waste in Malaysia is sago fiber, which composed of so and so. Okay, sago fiber. Okay, now this is agricultural waste, is the point, okay? And the next sentence, I still talk about it. I still relate with the point that I mentioned in the previous sentence. Yeah, one of the potential, I talk about first in general, and then I try to make it more specific, where I relate it to the sago fiber. I mentioned, this is actually an article by our team, so that's why I said I. The author says sago fiber related with the agricultural waste. Okay, so you can see the coherency. That is meant by the first sentence is coherent with the second sentence. And talk about sago fiber. Okay, and you can see the next sentence talk about sago fiber. So means that there is a coherency of all the sentences in this paragraph. Agree? Are you agree?
Yes, yes, doctor.
So that is meant by coherency. So your writing should be coherent. Okay, let's just imagine if, let's say, I talk about agricultural waste in the first sentence, and then suddenly I talk about other things like enzymes. So it is not coherent. Okay, so why it is not considered as a good writing? Because as a reader, I can't expect what you want to say actually, what you want to focus on, what is actually the target of your writing. So there is no organization. Okay, there is no organization, and it creates like, you know, poor understanding. So some of the points that your friend just now said is correct. Yeah, coherency will contribute to I mean, part of the coherency is organization of the points, and also it will lead to good understanding. Okay, like here, you know that the authors want to talk about agricultural waste and then focus on sago fiber, because sago fiber is one type of agricultural waste, right? And then yeah, that is the focus. Okay, so from something broad to something more specific. Yeah, and this one, you see, this is one. So coherency is important from one sentence to another sentence, and also from one paragraph to another paragraph. Okay, let's say here we talk about agricultural waste, sago fiber, and then we talk about the potential of sago fiber for producing bioethanol. Okay, so that is the topics. And in the second paragraph here, we try to relate with bioethanol. See? So that is the point that is being continued. Okay, so we are not just stop over bioethanol in the first paragraph, but we continue it in the second paragraph. So that is the continuity, right? The coherency. So that's how you should write in scientific writing. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, coherent. So why it is very important? Because it will lead to good understanding for the readers. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, so that's coherent. Simple and direct. Okay, that will contribute to the clarity of the sentences. I mentioned it should be simple. How to create a simple sentence, avoid long sentences, and focus only on one point that you want to say. Okay, don't just combine everything and make it long sentences. Long sentences is not good. Huh? Simple, and it must be. It's not necessary to be long. Huh? It should be simple and short. The shortness of the sentence will contribute to the clarity of the sentence. So that's why short sentences are favorable. Huh? Okay, direct. Okay, direct means you don't go into something flowerish or berbunga-bunga. You don't have to go. You just have to go straight forward. So that's direct. Concise. Yeah, brief, direct to the point. Same thing. Variable. Okay, it must be. This is style. Okay, this is something to do with the style, with your language. So if let's say you want to say that according to apa ya, Lim et al. 2017, okay, in one sentence, you're not going to repeat it the same thing, the same way. In the second sentence, you say according to again. And the next sentence you say again, according to, you should vary it lah, right? So maybe you can say according to Lim et al. 2017. Okay, in the next sentence, you can say that Smith et al. And co-workers reported that, okay, that is something to do with variability, how you vary the style, so that it's not going to be monotonous. So if you're just repeating the same style over and over again, it will be boring, and it will be it will be boring now for the readers to read it. Okay, so that is something to do with the style. Okay. The flow of ideas is happening. So let's have a look at this here. Clarity. Okay. The flow of ideas is organized. Okay, something to do with coherency as well. Okay. Author must focus on your research. Okay. So when you report your results, let's say in your FYP thesis later, your priority must be your results first. You cannot say in your results and discussion, you talk about other people's work first. So this is meant by this statement. Okay, focus on your research. Okay, means that in your results and discussion section, you should say that the results from this work showed that so and so. Okay, you report first what you got, and then in your discussion, only then you can relate with other works. Okay, the results from this work is parallel with the findings by Smith et al. Who reported that this and this. Okay, so that's how you relate it. It's not that you report others' work and then you relate to your work. Okay, so the focus must be your work first before you relate or discuss or compare and contrast with other works. Okay, so that's something to do with that. Good writing. Okay, and part of a good writing is the language. Okay, so since we are using English, so we have to use correct English. Correct English. Okay. So without good English, without good language, you cannot communicate your good results, even though your results are very valid. Okay, in terms of the science. The science-wise, it is very valid, it is very outstanding, it's groundbreaking, you know, something like, you know, we have found the cure for the second vaccine for COVID-19, for example. It's very groundbreaking. It's still very outstanding. But how you want to communicate it? You need a good language. You need a good transporter. Yeah. So the language is a transporter. So you have to write a good articles. You know, articles that can be understood by the audience in order to say that you have found this kind of things or this kind of cure. Okay, so that's why the English is important. So how to be good in English is by practice. I'm not an English teacher, but I can say that you have to practice your English. You have to have that initiative to improve your English from time to time. It's never too late. Yeah, and now even you are actually at a very early stage to improve your English. Even I'm still learning English. Okay, so what's more, you are still doing your first degree. This is a time for you to master your language, to master English, to be proficient in English. Yeah. So how to be good in English? Practice reading English, try to understand in the language. Yeah? Try to read good articles, learn new terminologies, vocabularies, yeah? And how to write good sentences. Okay, learn from the articles as well. If you see articles, good articles, try to see try to learn the style of writing. Okay, let's say instead of saying according to Smith et al., what is the other way of saying that? We can say Smith et al. Reported that so and so, and then we can also say that this is in parallel with what is reported by this and this. Okay, so it's something to do with you actually see from others' work and try to learn from that. Okay, so that's how I actually learn also. So sometimes I also do not have idea how I'm going to construct the sentences. So I try to learn from the articles. So instead of learning science, I also learn the English from the articles. I also learn the terms being used, how the terms being used, provided that the articles are good articles and they are written by Nila. If you see the quality of the articles, you can see that whether it's good or not. And how to know whether it's good or not, you have to get it from a good source. Okay, a good source means a good journal, because there are so many journals actually. And you have to get it from a good journal. Okay, we'll talk about how to find the sources later, but that is actually the key point. Okay, practice makes perfect. Okay, so these are examples of how important the English is. Okay, in English, you have to know the words and also the punctuation. You know what the punctuation is? The punctuation is the use of the full stop, comma. This is all the language things like. For example, like what is the importance of the punctuation? The punctuation is here is the comma. So what's the difference between the first and the second sentence? Let's eat grandma, or let's eat grandma. So it's part of the language, right? So like this one, the second one here, this is typo or error in spelling. Right? Spelling is very important as well. So you have to make sure that when you write, mind your English, mind the spelling, because it is very important. Like this one, no parking. It should be NO, right? Even though the pronunciation is the same, no, but because of the use of words or the spelling error. Okay, like this one. I like cooking dogs and kids. Yeah, it's not the same as I like cooking dogs and kids. So it gives different meaning, totally different meaning. And like this one, thank you, your donation just helps someone get a job. So if you put the full stop over here, it makes a difference, whereby it will not be the same as if you say without the full stop, your donation just helps someone get a job. So instead of having the full stop, right? And the same thing goes to other parts of the language, like the grammar. So this is not a new thing, like grammar for, let's say this one, he plays, should have S, right? Because it's a singular noun, right? Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. So, yeah, so this is all the grammar things or all the language things lah. And you have studied this better in English course, but you have to practice it here. Okay, you have to practice good English in your writing. And how you want to wait? I don't have. Okay, later. So, one of the tools to help you with writing is Grammarly. Do you know Grammarly? It's a free software that you can download from the internet. So it will detect the grammatical errors. Yeah. So this is a software. Please find it, Google it, and install to your PC, because after this you're going to write a lot, especially for FYP later. So you have to have this software. It's a free software. Download it and install to your PC. So what happened? It will detect the grammatical errors. Yeah? So that's Grammarly. So at least your grammars can be corrected briefly lah. Although you have to also evaluate by yourself your sentences. All right, so let's go to the last point, excellence in writing scientific papers. So I just go to the main points. What you have to practice is to have the outline. I think some of the points here I have mentioned about it already in the previous points. What is meant by outline is the structure. So it means that you have to know, for example, for the FYP proposal, what is the outline that you should have, the structure. So you should have the abstract, and then you have the introduction, then you have the materials, methods, right? And under materials method, you have different, maybe, no, after this is literature review. Literature review. Okay, and so on. Okay, so this is the outline. I mean, you have to know the structure of your writing. And even under each of these subtopics, let's say literature review. Okay, literature review is a section where you review the articles, and you should also construct the outlines for it. Okay, first maybe you want to talk about, you know, depending on your topics. Let's say your research is something to do with lay cases. So you talk about lay cases first, and then you talk about sago fiber. Okay, so you have to plan the outline. You have to plan the structure of your writings, because that will help you to organize your points. So that is going to be coherent. Remember coherency? Okay. Paragraph structure, sentences, words. Okay, something again to do with the language, right? The outline is the structure is the very first step in writing. Before you write, you have to know the structure. Okay, this is an example of the structure of literature review. Okay, even though literature review is one of the sub chapters, just now as I mentioned, we have intro, literature review, materials, methods, but under each of that, you also have to prepare the outline. This is the outline. Let's say you start with this is an example of my thesis. So I talk about industrial biocatalysts first, and then I talk about this and this. Okay, and how you organize it, it depends on what you think is relevant, how the flow should be, the flow of the points, okay, the coherency of the things. Okay, so that's the outline. Paragraph structures. Okay, so whenever you write, also you have to avoid, please avoid not just long sentences, but also long paragraph. What is meant by long paragraph? Why it is not favorable to have long paragraph? Because let's say this is the A4 page. So let's say you have a long paragraph is something like longer. I mean, you have like maybe in this one page, you just have one paragraph, but it's a very long paragraph. So compared to if let's say you have the same page, but you divided it into maybe 3 paragraphs. Okay, like this one. This is another paragraph, and this is another paragraph. Okay, let's say this is paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and this one is only 1 paragraph. So it is advisable, it is favorable to have this kind of format. The reason why, because when you read something that is so long, it's easy for you as an audience or as a reader to get lost, isn't it? Because everything is like too wordy and berjela-jela. In Malay, we say berjela-jela. So unlike if let's say you have 3 paragraphs, whereby the author focuses on 1 point, 1 point for paragraph 1, okay, point 1, point 2, okay, and then this one is point 3. Like just now, when you see the article just now, the first paragraph talk about waste. The second paragraph talk about bioethanol, but of course there is a coherency between paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. But it can help the readers to be focused, isn't it? So that's why this style is very important. Okay, so every paragraph should represent 1 point, 1 subject. Okay, you cannot put everything in 1 paragraph. It's going to be messy, not organized. Okay, so that's in terms of the paragraph. So this one should be practiced. This one is not. Okay, so please remember this, because this is one of the very common mistakes done by students. Sometimes you just write, but you don't realize that actually you write a long paragraph. So how you want to be aware of it? you must make sure that in a A4 page, you cannot have this one long paragraph. If you have this one long paragraph, you have to examine back your points, see which point is actually one point and divide it. Okay, so the easiest way is to check to proofread your stuff, and if you have long paragraph, that is not a sign of a good writing. So you should rewrite, or maybe you should see back your points, and you must make sure that at least you have 3 or 2 paragraphs. Okay, the minimum number is 2. Maximum could be 3, maybe, because you don't have much. 3 is quite a lot already. Okay, so 2 to 3 paragraph is advisable. Okay. Sentences. Okay, contain one, not more than one main idea or topic. Okay, so it means that it should be written short and simple. Short, concise. We don't say short, simply short, but it should be concise and simple. Okay, because it will contribute to the clarity of the idea to be delivered. Simple, easy to understand, okay, not stray or deviate from the main topic. That's why it's very important to have the coherency. Okay, so if I talk about agricultural waste, I don't talk about enzyme directly after that. Okay, there must be a coherency. I should relate agricultural waste with bioethanol, and then how bioethanol is related to this and this. Okay, coherency is very important. How it is connected to each other, not just between sentences, but also between one paragraph to another. Not have filler words or strange slangs or jargons. Okay, here you should differentiate. Scientific writing is considered as a formal writing or academic writing, which means that it is in a serious mode. You cannot use informal words. Okay, informal words, something like lah ke apa lagi? That is slangs lah, jargons, slangs. And even if you put like the word can't, this one cannot be used in formal writing. You should spell it in full lah. You cannot put don't. You cannot put that way. You have to be formal. Do not. So this is an example of simple words that you have to avoid. Okay, and again, your English should be correct lah. Okay, if let's say you want to compare, you should know that if let's say you want to use cheaper than, right? So you can't say more cheap. That is wrong. This is grammatically wrong. Or more cheaper, this is wrong. Okay, so you have to revise your English in order to know whether the words are correct or not. Okay, and the words, yeah, the choice of word is important, and you have to understand the terminology before you use the words. Okay, so I've mentioned about Grammarly. Okay, so please have a look at the software, because it's very useful. Yeah, it corrects basic grammars lah. Sometimes it's just let's say if you forgot the s, whatever, it detects this is a singular now. It should have the verb should have s, for example. So it will detect something basics like that. So at least it will screen your writings. But still, you have to read the sentences. You have to judge by yourself because Grammarly is just a software. Sometimes some of the things it cannot detect, the relevancy of the sentences, the validity of the sentences. So that needs human judgment still. But at least Grammarly can screen. Sometimes you forgot s. Sometimes you should put s, or you don't have to put s, but you forgot it because you write it. And so it will screen for you. Okay, so I think that's it. So basically what we have covered, we talk about scientific writing. What are the forms of scientific writings? Principles of scientific writing, characteristics of good writing, what makes a good writing, right? And excellence in writing scientific papers. So basically it's about the rules of writing good scientific papers or documents. Any question? So last week I gave you homeworks, right? So that one is just a class activity because I want you to practice. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why yeah, if you do it in a group, it's okay. If you do it individually, it's okay. I will mark it. But I haven't have a look at it. I just go briefly, but I haven't checked it properly. Okay. So basically the homeworks were about rephrasing, right? Rephrasing these two sentences. So there is no one answer lah, because it's something to do with different styles. I mentioned just now, everyone has different styles. So each and every one of you will have your own style of writing or rephrasing. Rephrasing is you change the sentences, but you maintain the same points and also the citation. You don't ignore the section. So these are the two sentences. So I just write here, this is sentences that I rephrase. Okay, you don't have to refer this as the only correct answers, but this is one of the examples how you rephrase. Okay, so the purpose of rephrasing is we don't want to copy and paste the sentences, right, from the sources that we read. Okay, so the original sentence is lacases are polyphenol oxidases that have important applications in the treatment of effluents from paper and pulp, textile and petrochemical industries, bioremediation of xenobiotics, and as biosensors in medical diagnostics. Okay, and the facts is from this person, L. Batal et al., 2015. Okay, so how you want to rephrase? So you are going to practice this a lot for your writing, for your proposal writing later. So you have to, Nina, you have to make sure that you do it well. Okay, so we have to maintain the same meaning, and we have to also maintain the citation because the facts belong to that person, right? But we have to change the way how it is written. We cannot say again, like cases are so and so, because it will be the same. And if you repeat the same style, it will be detected by the Nitin, right? To be similar. So how you can rephrase it, this is one of the examples. Okay, instead of putting that one at the end, you can say according to Al Batal et al. 2015. Okay, so that's how you can change it a little bit. Yeah? One of polyphenol oxidases are lacases. Okay, instead of saying lacases are polyphenol oxidases. But before you rephrase, you please make sure that you understand what the sentence is all about. What is the points of the sentences, so that you don't mess up the points. You know, you don't say that lacases are. You know, you don't put it. You will put it organizedly if you understand the meaning of the sentence. So that's why understanding the sentence is very important. Understanding the facts of the sentence is very important before you rephrase it. Okay, so I write it this way. One of polyphenol oxidases are lacases, which have significant uses. Okay, instead of saying important application, I change it to different words lah, significant uses, in order to avoid using the same words, applications or importance. So I put significant uses, but it still have same meaning, right? Application uses is the same. Okay? Such as in the treatment of wastewater. Okay, now I replace, so that's why I said you have to understand, because this is related to your field, so you should, the words are quite scientific, so you should understand effluents, what effluents are. Effluents are actually wastewater. Yeah? So that's why I replace it wastewater, because I do not want it to be appear the same using effluents. But make sure when you replace it, it has similar meaning. It has correct meaning. It doesn't mean something else. Okay, so that the meaning or the point is maintained. So I put it this way: in the treatment of wastewater generated from paper and pulp. Okay, like this one, I cannot avoid using the same term, but it's okay. As long as other sentences or other words are not similar. But I cannot find other words than paper, pulp. Okay, that is understandable. It's fine. Okay, and same goes to textile and petrochemical industries. Okay, that's fine as well. And then I try to make it a little bit different. I would say also because of there are other points here, and this looks so long over here. So I put it, I stop over here, and I continue with, apart from that, the enzyme. Okay, now you understand, you should understand lacases are enzyme, a type of enzyme. So I can use the word, other words. I don't have to say lacases again. This is a style, it's something to do. I try to make it different. So I put it, the enzyme is also used as a bioremediator. Okay, this is another thing that you have to know because this is my field. So I know that bioremediation, it needs bioagent, agent. So the agent is called bioremediator. Okay, so any enzyme that can help the bioremediation, it is called bioremediator. So this needs you to understand the nature of the fact before you rephrase it. This is what I mean by understanding the facts before you rephrase it. Okay, the enzyme is also used as a bioremediator for xenobiotics. Okay, because the original words points is bioremediation of xenobiotics. I can say bioremediator for xenobiotics, that's fine. Okay, and as biosensors, I can't find any words than that. That's fine. That's a scientific term. Okay, for medical treatment. That is one something diagnostic of treatment is the same. Okay, so I don't want to use the word diagnostic because I don't want it to appear similar. So I change it to treatment, but it's the same. So that's how you rephrase it. So whenever this thing is detected by the software, the Turnitin, it will not detect words by words that are similar. So maybe this kind of words like paper and pulp, biosensors, xenobiotics, is just like one word, but the rest of it, before and after, is not the same. So it will not detect it, So that's how you rephrase it and reduce the similarity. Yeah. Okay, the second sentence. Research in Brazil, India, and Europe has shown the feasibility of exploiting vinasse as feedstocks for the production of an array of value-added products, such as polyhydroxyalkanoates, Pramani et al., okay, and xylitol, Salgado et al., 2010. Okay, so how I'm going to change it, rephrase it, okay, while maintaining the same points. Okay, I don't have to start with the same way like research in Brazil, India, and Europe. So just change it. This is your creativity as well. So instead of saying that, of course, I have to understand the points first. It's about vinasse. Vinasse is a name. You don't have to worry about it. It's a term referring to waste lah. It's a type of waste. So you don't have to change that vinasse. It's the same here. I don't change it. But I can change the way how it says research in Brazil and in Brazil, India, and Europe. I can say, I can start first with the usability of vinasse, okay, feasibility as feedstocks. Okay, we know feedstock is something that we feed for the reaction. It can also be replaced with the substrates. Okay, the usability of vinasse as substrates for producing several products. Okay, I can just say several products. I don't have to repeat value added, an array of value added products. That will give the similarity, high similarity. So I can use the same word products, but I just say for producing several products, okay, such as polyhydroxyalkanoates. Okay, I still maintain the citation, which is Pramani et al. Right? I don't change this term. This term is a scientific term. Okay, it doesn't need to be changed. And xylitol, Salgado, okay. Okay, so I put it like the usability, this one, so and so, has been reported by researchers in Brazil, India, and Europe. Okay, instead of saying research in Brazil, India, and Europe has shown. Okay, that's the way how you can rephrase it, how you can make it different. Yeah, and how to be proficient in this, you need to practice a lot. Okay, and also you just learn from articles, as I said just now, like instead of saying according to Elbatal, what's the other way of saying it? Maybe you can say Another way is you can say el batal. You can also express it at all. Instead of saying at all, you can say and co-workers. That is another way that I learned from the article. Okay, you can say 2015. Yeah? So it is also the same as el batal at all. At all, you know what at all means, right? If the article is written more than 2 authors, we just refer the surname of the first author and the rest we call it at all. Okay, that's at all means. It's a uniform way used in scientific or in academic writing. Okay. Any question on this? This is examples. It's not the only answer. Your style might be different, but what is important is the grammar. You should make sure that the English is correct. Yeah, whatever the style that you are using, the grammar should be correct. Yeah? The language should be correct. The use of words, the terms should be correct. Okay. Okay, that's how you rephrase. Yeah, I'll check your works, inshallah. Yeah. Okay. Any question before we end up the session today? Are you still with me?
So far, no, Doctor.
So far,
Everything is
no?
okay. Yes.
Okay. Right, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. Um, okay, let's go to the candidates. Right, so if you have scanned your attendance, you may leave if you want to leave. Yeah. Right, thank you very much for your attendance and attention. Okay, I'll see you guys next week, inshallah. Stay safe.
Thank you, Doctor, for today.
All right, welcome. Thank you, Doctor. Selamat berpuasa. Esok.
So, what's the
Okay, that's-
Doctor?
Okay, and the manual attendance. Yes, okay. Sure, yeah. Manual attendance, I will do it later.
Good morning, doctor. May I ask about the homework just now?
Yeah.
Because I didn't put the citation, is it okay? I just rephrased all the sentences,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't put a bracket for the citation. Is it still okay or?
You have to put the citation.
Okay, doctor.
Okay. So now you know what?
Okay, doctor.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Dokter. Dan selamat berpuasa.
Yeah, welcome. You too.
Good morning, doctor. May I ask just now the homework?
Yes.
Just now our friend just asked about the citation, right? We have to
Mm-hmm.
put the citation in the after the rephrasing sentences, right? So
Yes.
is it possible we can resubmit again?
Oh yeah, if you want to do corrections, yes, yeah. Please
Oh,
resubmit.
oh,
So
okay,
it's good for
okay.
you to know now, right? Because you have to apply it
Yes.
later. Yeah.
So we
Okay.
can resubmit it, right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
the due date is past.
Yeah, it's just a class activity. So as long as you benefit from it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
it's fine.
doctor.
Okay, all right.
Have a nice day.
You too. Stay safe.